Welkom bij Big Talk. Rotterdam staat 10 dagen lang in het teken van film tijdens het IFFR. En iedere avond vindt hier in het oude Luxor een talkshow plaats. Daarin zetten we topinterviewers tegenover de belangrijkste gasten van het festival. Vanavond interviewt Volkskrant-columniste en schrijfster Nausicaa Marbe de Roemeense regisseur Andrei Ujica. Hij maakte Autobiography, een film over de opkomst en de val van Ceaucescu.
Fiecare, păi-și cea mai mândră floare.
Hi.
You're sitting here.
Here. Okay.
I think I can warn the audience that we are going to take a 3-hour deep diving course into Romanian communism and history, and there will be glamour and horror. Your movie is you depicted the inner story of Ceaucescu's career, and it is called the autobiography. Is this because the material you used was movies made or directed or propaganda directed by Ceaucescu, or did you really manage to get into his mind and see what he was wanting to tell us with his images?
Yeah, it's a play with all levels of the title word of the autobiography. I didn't get really in his mind. Nobody knows no one. So at least, but it's sure I know him a little bit more now after all this work, and it's called the autobiography indeed because it's. It was the same. It's the same. The only narrative perspective who is possible to tell this story with existing images. And my ambition was to make the movie like this because it's my method to work cinematographically, and especially in this. In these 3 movies about the end of the historical communism, this one is the last part of a trilogy, and I was obliged to preserve the style register and to make the movie only using true images. Each archive of a
there are 2 Romanian archives.
No, but I know each archive of a chief of state it's a protocol archive. So
yes.
The images are not directed because they are only cameramen who took these images. It's all quite standard. But you can manage through montage to build other scenes from the material. Yeah.
We had 1,000 hours of film material.
Yeah.
And your cut is 3 hours.
Yeah.
Tell us about how did you select it?
Yeah,
did you select
it? It's only my estimation that they are. Around 1,000 hours. Maybe there are some more. They are not really. It didn't exist a full catalog of the images, so I can only estimate this. originally, there was much more images because we can make a arithmetic thing. He was filmed in average 1 hour each day.
Each day. And what happened to the...
For 24 years or 25 years. This means we must have 9,000 hours of...
that have been destroyed, or
not
nobody
destroyed.
knows what happens?
Probably it's a lot of repetition, you know, and probably, and it was not all preserved. So, but and maybe in the archive they are possibly they are 2,000 hours. I don't know, but a lot of stuff it's really not interesting. There are the same visits in some regions of Romania. The 30 visit to Timișoara or to this Colhoz or to this. It's not.
You didn't use a lot of home movies because you were telling me that Ceaucescu had the same directors for his work as at home because he didn't trust other people.
He liked to be filmed, so. And he began this very early to invite his cameraman. It was always the same. It's a small group of 4 or 5 people who has this permission to film him. Yes, there was all employees from the state documentary film studio called Alexandru Sahia. So, and they invited them at home, and on the beginning it was more like a little bit on pause, also for some propaganda for I don't know pictures for women magazines or something like that.
In the 60s.
We were talking in the 60s. But he began very early to invite this guy also to film his holidays. So we see we have here
instead of pictures
from
taking pictures,
67 and this kind of Antonioni party with communists in the 60s. We have this also. It's in 65 or so. Black and white, wonderful. It's.
That's what I want to ask you, because I am born in 1963. That's the moment he came he became president. You were
2 years later.
2 years later.
Yeah,
you were a teenager, and do you remember that time? Because in your movie, the start of his reign it's communist. It's a Beatles generation.
Yeah.
They are dancing. They are inviting jazz orchestra. They are wearing turtlenecks. They are very fashionable. Tailored Italian suits and sunglasses.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, they are old Italian mob.
Yeah.
Dying and desolated.
Yeah.
Do you remember, as a young man in Romania, that period of glamorous communism, or was it?
I remember. I remember this very well. Between 65 and in my adolescence, 65 and 70, it was a good period. It was a relative prosperity. I had one advantage more because I lived in a city in the western of Romania, Timișoara, very near to the Hungarian and Yugoslavian border. And so the Western influences were stronger than in the rest of the country, and we was quite connected with the Western music, and through the Yugoslavian television.
A lot of
films and movies and all this, and it was the politics are quite liberal in the cultural sector.
Yes.
I mean, I was so a lot of good contemporary literature was translated. It was an advantage for my generation. It was an advantage, but also for him not, because he lost completely my generation.
He lost touch with the design of a glamorous communist country. When did this happen? In your movie there is a very nice shot of a street in Bucharest where people were beautiful women, young men. It looked like Paris or a street in New York. And then exactly without a bridge, the next shot is Mao's China, a horrible, monotonous dance.
It's a very, very one shot, it's also my favorite in the whole movie. It's
a turning point.
Yeah, and the scene before, it's, if you want, it's really, it's very, very personal, because I had my, high school prom in 71, in the same year. Then he
that
goes
you went to Korea
to China.
To China,
Korea to China. And when I found in the archives scenes with a high school prom in Bucharest, I was very touched and very moved and very sentimental and so. And then with Dana we made this clip from Bucharest with
beautiful people.
Yeah, with the swinging Bucharest and so.
Swinging Bucharest.
So and then we have looked for the music, and I was in a very, very nostalgic mood, and I remember an entire day I heard all the time Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone on these images, and from this legendary concert of Dylan in '66 in Manchester, when somebody from the public called him Judas, and he answered, "I don't believe you are a liar." And I was very in this mood,
yes,
of a Judas of the old history.
Yeah.
But it was not possible because the music didn't work with the images, and then we find you will see a much better song for this moment.
You did not hold a camera. You had to work with material that existed.
Yeah.
And I have the feeling that you wanted to give us Ceaucescu's view on how he would like to be remembered, or how he saw his life. And at a certain time there is a tension because you want to show us that it is a lie. This wasn't reality. How did you manage to? Was there a tension while making this? Correcting the lie of propaganda. You were using the propaganda material.
Yeah, I've tried to correct, if possible, two lies.
Which are?
Yeah, the lie of propaganda. It's clear, and the lie of propaganda. It's not difficult to make to inverse. If you wait enough, and if you look attentive to, and you have at disposal enough amount of images, you can deconstruct propaganda very, very well.
We'll get fed by it.
Yeah. But it's
too much.
The film is provocative in other direction also. Against the other lie, the common lie we have with history in general, because the normal acception of history, it's a very clicheistic, and so and especially after dictatorships, the entire nations. They construct a kind of very naive fiction that all the people were victims, and a monster was falling from the sky and destroyed all, and nobody is guilty. Only
nobody survived.
Only this guy. Only Hitler. Only Stalin. Only Mao. And it is never so. And not in history and not in life. It's this category of monster didn't exist and I'm
you don't consider Ceaucescu a monster even in the later years when he starts destroying the country and demolishing churches and people's houses and whole cities and villages?
In his latest years, he was a classical paranoid dictator, like Ols in this situation. It's a kind of monster, but the problem is how all these men became this kind of monster, and for this it's not possible without the participation of the, if you want, of the entire nation. I'm convinced that each dictator it's accumulation
because he has been tolerated.
It's accumulation of his.
Never well criticized.
It's an emanation of his nation in the period he is in reign. So was it
there is
in Germany and in Russia
scene,
also.
Yes, a very long scene in the movie, a press conference in Dubček's Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
And it's not at all official like it would be in Russia. It's a sort of happening, a sit-in. And there are Czechoslovakian journalists that come and they ask things, and Ceaucescu is talking very, very freely. And then Mr. Mania Mănescu, that was the prime minister.
Corneliu Mănescu.
Corneliu Mănescu, which was the prime minister at the time, or
no, Mania Mănescu is the later prime minister, and Corneliu Mănescu was the foreign affairs
secretary. Yeah. And they ask him a question, and he doesn't want to answer, and he seeks Ceaucescu's eyes to ask for permission. Is this why you kept this very long scene to show us the difference between how the Czechs were dealing with their politicians and how Ceaucescu was really was?
Yeah.
Not letting people talk, not permitting them to have their own thoughts.
Yeah, the scene it's in my interpretation of this whole story. It's very important that. That's why I give her really spaces, or I don't know, it's 15 minutes or.
Yes, it's fascinating every second.
Yeah, and it's for me it was fascinating on many levels. First of all, because I had much material, and we played with the editing, and we construct a really cinematic scene.
Yes.
Who didn't exist as such in the Russians, not at all. So, and the other, it's so symptomatic for this moment, 68, from the Eastern European perspective.
It was the summer, probably before the
4
Russians.
days.
4 days before
4
the
days
Russians.
Before the invasion, and you have seen the atmosphere in Hrad, and the Czech journalists. There was it's a kind. It's like in the wonderful Nouvelle Vague movies of the early 60s, and so it's a little bit an atmosphere like in Masculin Féminin, de Godard, or Le Petit Soldat.
One more question.
Yeah.
You depicted him in the end not as a lunatic that he was, but as a very tragic old man. Why? Fearful and tragic. The moment that Gorbachev speaks to him, he is trembling. Gorbachev is younger. Ceaucescu is trembling, is falling apart.
It's a movie also about a biological decline, and so. What I discovered, but I don't want to say things before you see the film. He has each dictator on the end. He has a kind also of a tragic
yes, when you realize he's not immortal. Dimension. He wants to accomplish this.
Not only for this, because he's alone, because he he has a wrong belief he has a wrong vision, and like an old artist, he realized that he cannot accomplish his work, or that he, yeah, and it's a kind of solitude and tragic dimension, very similar to
yes,
to the artist. Yeah.
You show us in a very unsentimental way, and that makes the movie even a greater work of art than what Ceaucescu tried to show us with his best directors. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tot zover Big Talk, maar we hebben nog meer voor u in petto. Omdat het filmfestival dit jaar 40 jaar bestaat, vertoont TV Rijnmond iedere avond een film uit het roemruchte verleden van het festival. En vanavond is dat Here Makono van de Afrikaanse regisseur Sisako. Het gaat over arme mensen in Mauritanië die de sprong willen wagen naar het rijke Europa.